The View has been on air since the late 90s, and in 25 years worth of television, things are destined to go off the rails once or twice. This is why today we're going to be looking at some of the wildest moments where a View host absolutely lost it at a guest. First up, we have the time when Elizabeth Hasselbeck threw a tantrum at Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin isn't someone to back down from a fight. The comedian has absolutely no filter, especially when she's dishing out remarks against celebrities. Just ask View host Elizabeth Hasselbeck. You see, the comedian had apparently made a few jokes at the expense of Hasselbeck a few years before her appearance on the show in 2010, and let's just say that made things really uncomfortable. Griffin had come onto the show to promote her show, My D-List Life, when Hasselbeck decided to take her revenge. The host couldn't be bothered to look even remotely interested in what Griffin had to say, constantly yawning, stretching, and rolling her eyes. But things really got heated when Hasselbeck went after the comedian, accusing her of saying things about people that are untrue and unfunny. Hasselbeck took things further when she asked Griffin if she felt weird coming onto the show and promoting her things when the comedian has said horrible things about her. Now, the surprising part of this whole altercation is that Griffin remained calm throughout. The comedian didn't make a single witty or confrontational remark towards Hasselbeck, simply telling her that she lives for moments like this. While Elizabeth did try to bring the tension down by claiming she was cool with Griffin, a lot of people thought her body language was telling a completely different story. Up next, Whoopi whoops Jeanine Pirro. Everyone that watches The View knows that you don't mess with Whoopi. Fox News judge Jeanine Pirro learned that lesson the hard way during an appearance on the show in 2018. Now, it's no secret that Whoopi isn't a huge fan of Donald Trump. Pirro decided to single Goldberg out because of her political views and accused her of having Trump derangement syndrome. If you're unfamiliar with this term, it's basically something conservatives use to describe adversaries of the Trump presidency. Goldberg obviously didn't take too kindly to Pirro's comments and went off on the former prosecutor. Things got so heated that Whoopi walked off stage, and the broadcast immediately cut to a commercial break. Fortunately, things had calmed down by the time the show went back on air, and Whoopi even apologized for losing her calm. Now, the time when Raven-Symoné lost it on Candice Berry. Raven-Symoné's stint on The View might not have been a long one, but it sure was eventful. Fans of the show might remember the epic showdown that went down between the ex-Disney actress and guest Candice Cameron Bure. The altercation happened just 1 month after Raven joined as a full-time co-host. The two got into a heated argument when Bure defended a cake shop owner from Oregon who refused to bake a cake for a lesbian wedding. Symoné duked it out with Candice, with the two going back and forth for a large part of the episode. Symoné argued that the business owner shouldn't have discriminated against the couple because of their sexual orientation, while Bure claimed there was no discrimination at play here. The Full House alum must have struck a major nerve here with Raven, because soon after this statement, Symoné delivered a mic drop worthy diss, telling Bure, "I refuse to associate myself with you right now." This segment definitely goes down as one of the most heated moments in the history of The View. Not exactly something you want to be doing during your first month on the job, if you ask us. Next up, everyone disses Nene Leakes. This might be the most passive-aggressive episode of The View, and that's saying something. While the drama wasn't as apparent as in some of the other episodes mentioned in this video, everyone and their grandma could tell that there was some shady business going on. Leakes had hopped onto the show to promote her Broadway role, but the hosts were more interested in talking about the reality star's marriage. When Nene deflected those questions, the interviewers turned their attention toward her friendship with Donald Trump. Every time Nene tried to talk about her Broadway show, the ladies would simply ignore it. Following her appearance, Nene took to Twitter to call out the host, claiming that they were all a bunch of judgmental, mean girls. Surprisingly enough, Whoopi Goldberg actually addressed these remarks during an appearance on Andy Cohen's show, claiming that she had no idea Nene was so unhappy with the interview. Goldberg even invited the reality star to come back for a do-over, but something tells us that this won't be happening anytime soon. Moving on to the time when Whoopi humiliated Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter is known for her controversial takes and problematic opinions. The political commentator's love for pushing people's buttons was on full display when she appeared on an episode of The View in September 2012. Coulter was on one of her usual racist rants when she struck a major chord with Whoopi Goldberg, and well, that's the last thing you want to do when you're on that show. The host delivered a few sizzling remarks pointed towards Coulter, and surprisingly, those were enough to put a pin in the commentator's mouth for the rest of the show. If there's one thing we get from this encounter, it's that you should never underestimate Whoopi Goldberg. Up next, the time when Joy Behar embarrassed Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Joy Behar is notoriously short on patience, especially when discussing politics. So when White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders decided to drop by in 2017, fans expected the episode to be nothing if not explosive. Sarah kicked off the collision when she accused the media of not covering the Trump presidency through a fair lens. Behar immediately rebuked Huckabee's remarks, claiming that 95% 90% of what Trump says is a lie. Things only got uglier from there, with both women hurling insults and accusations at each other. The White House press secretary accused the media of pushing a false narrative, to which Beret responded by saying, "I feel sorry that you have to defend those lies every day." Talk about an awkward moment. We don't know if anything could be more embarrassing for a government official than a TV host telling them they feel pity for them. Now, everyone gangs up on Trump. If it isn't clear by now, the ladies of The View aren't big fans of Donald Trump. With everything they've said to his supporters on the show, you can guess which way things went when the man himself decided to pay them a visit. Trump appeared on The View just before being elected as president. You might remember a huge part of his campaign was then-President Barack Obama's nationality. Well, the billionaire decided to bring those views up during the interview, and let's just say it didn't go over very well with the host. Everyone got into a screaming match, and no one was willing to hear the other's opinion. Whoopi eventually became the voice of reason amid all the chaos when she yelled this was the biggest pile of dog mess she had heard in ages. Surprisingly enough, the heated interview went off the air on a rather positive note, with Trump and Barbara Walters hugging it out. Next up, Barb and Whoopi go off on Glenn Beck. Whoopi Goldberg and Barbara Walters took Glenn Beck to the doghouse in a 2009 episode of The View. The former Fox News political commentator admitted right away that he was anxious about appearing on the show, and we can't say he was wrong. The ladies immediately put Glenn on blast for his controversial views, his habit of crying on the air, and his lack of journalistic ethics. The lack of subtlety from the host is what really makes this confrontation hilarious. At one point, Goldberg even labeled Glenn a lying sack of dog mess for his habit of spreading fake news. We're sure Beck took a sigh of relief when the episode went off the air. Moving on to the time when things got ugly between Goldberg and Kate Gosselin. Reality TV star Kate Gosselin appeared on an episode of The View in September 2009. The famous mom appeared on the show while she was in the middle of an intense custody battle with her ex-husband John Gosselin. Fans might remember that Kate was under serious fire at that time for trying to take the kids during John's scheduled time with them. When the reality star was told off by the father, she tried to involve the authorities, and that didn't go over well with a lot of people, and Whoopi Goldberg was one of them. Goldberg openly criticized Kate's antics, claiming that she shouldn't have tried to break the custody agreement. The other host tried to defend the mom, but they were drowned out by Whoopi's remarks. Finally, Bear and Goldberg walk out on Bill O'Reilly. This has to be the single most uncomfortable moment in the history of the show, and we think it may never be topped. Conservative commentator Bill O'Reilly went on an Islamophobic rant during an episode in 2010. Goldberg was so disgusted by O'Reilly's comments that she cursed him out live on TV, while Bear simply walked off set. Things got worse when Whoopi followed suit and also walked out. The two hosts did eventually return, but the damage had already been done. Alright, what's your favorite moment from The View? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.